It's my pleasure to bring to you an author. I love authors because they're so creative and to write books. I mean, he's got a couple of versions of his book here, but he's written a couple of books, and we're going to find out from Duke. Duke, how do you pronounce your pen name?
You can call me Duke Fresh or
Duke. Okay, Duke Fresh. And we're going to find out about his book. So tell me a little bit. I love your idea of the Peace Trail, but we're going to talk about your books. Tell our audience why they should get your books.
Well, in '88, I got out of the military and didn't want to just return to the civilian life, so I got on the trail in Georgia and started walking north, and it was such
You just kept walking.
Pretty much, yeah. It was a 6-month journey, and it was life-changing, of course.
I was going to say, a trip like that has got to...
Right, you're doing something wrong, it's not life-changing.
Movie, aren't they, about...
Oh, really? I think I saw that previous
True Story or something, that walked. So you're right up there with the...
Cool.
Making those trips. So you took is it the Appalachian Trail that you took?
It is the Appalachian Trail. It runs from Georgia to Maine. It's about 2,100 miles long.
And you walked the whole thing?
Yeah, it took about 6 months, give or take.
Okay, tell me how you do that.
Little at a time.
The worst thing you bags or what?
Yep, and you got to carry everything on your back. Generally about 50 pounds. 35 is a really good, plus food.
You carry a cell phone? You probably didn't have cell phone.
Not that back then, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, how did you keep in touch? Or
postcards, phones.
Because people want to know, are you safe?
Yeah, right. My mother had a big map on the at home. When
we have a map. You brought a couple maps, so.
And she would move the little thumbtack every time I called. So that was fun.
So let's take a look at the pictures that he brought, Greg, and we'll kind of and this is a picture of your book.
Yeah, a friend of mine worked on that. That's a little graphic to try to advertise the book. It's just a author photo.
Yeah.
That's from actually How Caverns.
This must have been the early walks.
Yeah, that's actually Mount Algonquin. I liked it so much that I used it for the author photo.
It's a great shot. And there's two, actually. There's this one a little bit with a wider shot. I like that as well.
Taken by my wife.
Oh, taken by your wife. Good. And what were the maps? There were a couple maps there. Can we take a look at the maps and maybe? Oh, the maps didn't come through. Okay. Oh.
Well, the map represents the International Peace Trail, which was an idea I got basically about 10 years after hiking the trail, the Appalachian Trail. And it starts in the Atlas Mountains in Morocco and ends in Chile at the Torres del Paine. It's about 33,000 miles long. And the idea was basically that it would work to resolve several issues in the world, hunger, poverty, disease, the extinction of a lot of animals by working to preserve habitats and environmental areas.
And you have a website that people can go to learn a little bit more about that then?
Yeah, peacetrail.com is available out there.
And how do you envision the Peace Trail? Do you envision people taking that or just what you did? Or?
Well, I think it's going to be open for a wide variety of people. There are going to be some that would probably want to hike the whole thing somehow. I think it would take about 8 to 10 years to do.
Well, people do those things, don't they?
Yeah. There's a lot of people that do that. In fact, you had mentioned somebody that had done something very similar and hiked around the world. So that's great. My idea was just to link it towards preservation of habitats and environments and working to restore the environment from its degradation, like through logging and stuff like that.
Where do you see the most of the dangers in the environment right now? I mean, other than bombings and things. But.
Well, right now I think we're running into a runaway effect. As the permafrost melts, it releases more methane. So it's cycling, and it's once that ball gets rolling, it's hard to prevent. So I think as we delay by arguing over whether it exists, that tends to...
Do you believe that people still are talking about whether it really is real or not? I was like, oh my gosh, with all the evidence out there, I mean, it's just amazing.
Well, as one of my favorite authors used to say, what the thinker thinks, the prover proves. We're constantly barraged with so much information. We have to parse it down to something we can understand. So we look for things that reinforce what we already believe. So therefore, it's hard to change those beliefs once we've...
You're absolutely right. People listen to the choir, right? The people that they believe with, they're going to stick with in their thoughts. But we do know that carbon dioxide certainly is contributory, and the methane is, of course. The water levels rising is going to be a dramatic change in our lives.
Yes. As a matter of fact, my wife is from the Philippines, and countries like that stand the most to lose from global warming.
Yeah.
From their actual habitats just disappearing underwater.
And we're going to lose a lot of it. They say, you know, places like New York and even the West Coast could see that, but hopefully not in our lifetimes. But you just don't know. The wildlife is another problem, because as we alter the chemical composition of water, we're going to lose certain fish and aquatic animals.
It's true, yeah. Another problem is something called physteria, which comes from the pig farming. They've pushed it so up to the brink that it overflows into the rivers, and a disease as a result of that has emerged called physteria, which is pretty nasty. Apparently, you don't want to touch it or go near it. It'll leave little sores on you and things like that. So,
really?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it has to do with well, we have the farming. We like our meat, you know, and
Sure.
the problem is that it's you know, the methane with the cows, you know, that comes from cows, you know.
Sure.
And also, you know, all the effluent that comes from the waste products of the animals. And then when you get into the butchering, and I mean, there's still more going on. So we really have to find that happy balance in our world. Now, the books that you have, now what's the Fictionary?
The Fictionary was something that came to me while I was driving a truck for a while. It was just I'd come up with words. I was a big fan of The Devil's Dictionary by Ambrose Bierce growing up.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it was a natural homage to him by doing that. And it's just something I've been working on over the years. It's grown through several incarnations. It's now in its third
printing.
Third
Wow,
printing, and
how cool.
I'm still producing, you know, words for it. So there's a potential fourth edition someday.
Edition. So
yeah.
where could they pick up these books if they want to do something for the holidays?
Okay, well, they're all available on Amazon.com.
Okay.
You can go to my website, peacetrail.com, which has links. And there's also Amazon.com has an author page. So if you go to Amazon.com/author/DougFresh, you'll be able to find my books there as well.
And we certainly love to highlight the authors that are doing some interesting things. He just doesn't simply write, he kind of walks the walk, because he's taken the Appalachian Trail and he's talking about the Peace Trail. So there's a lot of layers to Doug here, aren't there? What's your next book?
I have some children's stories I want to write. One is called Fido. It was a story when I was about like 12 years old. I picked up a wounded pigeon and nursed it, and it didn't know how to fly. I taught it to fly.
You taught it to fly?
It's a love story too, because it decided to stay with us for the summer, and that it met a female pigeon one day, and that one didn't want anything to do with us.
How did you know it was a male when he found a female, right?
I think we might be assuming. I'm no...
Or maybe it was the other way around, who knows?
Right, I have no idea.
They say it's very hard to tell the gender of birds, so I'm not quite sure how that works.
We just assumed it was a he. I don't know why, but yeah. But
so look for his children's book. It's always fun to learn about a new book coming out. Doug, it's been a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too.
Please
Thank
come
you.
join me when you get your children's book out.
I would love to.